Alright, so I'm just about done with the front brakes on this Accord, and looking at the back brakes, this thing is going to be back here really soon. There's absolutely no friction material left. Well, first of all, look at that rotor, but look at that pad. There's no friction material left, so real soon they're going to start hearing a grinding noise, and it's going to be back in the next few days. Got a Oldsmobile Alero here. Just finished doing the rear brakes, and I have to do all 4 tie rods up front. It's all done with the tie rods, so that's it for this. You can see it's got a broken stabilizer link, but that's a story for another day. Got a 2000 Accord here. I was just here the other day, maybe like 2 days ago, because she said every time she turned the car on or she turned the AC on, the belt would squeal real loud. And her brother had just replaced the AC compressor down there, right? So she had been saving up this money, you know, thinking something major was gonna have to get replaced, and maybe he messed something up. First thing I checked is the belt tension, and it was actually really loose. So that's what was causing the noise. I was able to tension it from right here from the alternator, put a little bit more tension on the belt, and it took care of the noise. So that was a nice and easy fix. But then the very next day, she starts experiencing no crank issues. Some guy in AutoZone came over. Well, first of all, AutoZone tried to sell her battery, and there's no doubt it's a 2017 battery, late 17, so I'm sure it needs a battery, right? It's about that time. But anyway, he told her to, you know, try to crank it over, and he came over and gave the starter a hit or two, and it started right up. So that's what we're doing right now. Got the new starter right there, got the old one off. Alright, to me it sounds like there's a little bit of noise like after it starts up. Honestly, I don't know if that's normal. I don't know if the car used to do that before. Try one more time. But at least it's starting every single time. I mean, like the first 3 times that I tried it, it didn't sound good and it didn't want to start, so that sucked. But it's starting now. It is a Duralast unit, remanufactured, so I'm just gonna leave it at that. Here I've got I think it's a 2008 Ford Escape, I'm not really sure. But anyway, it failed the Uber test or Uber inspection because the parking brake doesn't really hold the car. When they engaged the parking brake and they put it in reverse, it held the car, but when they put it in drive, the car moved forward like a foot or two, and that caused him to fail the inspection. So thankfully I came in here, and by the way, this cap was already missing, but I came in here and the adjustment mechanism moves freely, so that's good. Obviously no one ever uses the parking brake, so you know, the shoes wearing down isn't really an issue. It's more like for not being used for so long, like say the brake shoe just disintegrates or falls apart. But it seems to be holding still on this car. The pedal for the parking brakes feels smooth. It doesn't feel like anything's binding or rusted up. So hopefully we could just come in here and adjust the parking shoes and it'll fix the problem. And I noticed this is also broken, so I'll bring that up, see if they want to do anything about it. Alright, so I'm done adjusting the drum brakes here. Let's go ahead and engage the pedal. Alright, so that's on. Let's take it out of park, put it in reverse, and take foot off the brake, and you can see it's not moving at all. My foot is off the brake, and let's go ahead and put it into drive without touching the brake. And it hasn't moved. That's the car jerking back and forth from switching gears, but it's not moving. So let's go back into reverse again. Alright, and back into drive. Alright, I think that's good enough. Hopefully it'll pass inspection now. Working on this 2012 Malibu, I believe. And it's here for front and rear brakes, and it's getting the complete setup. So we're getting new pads and rotors all the way around. Look at the condition of these parts on this car. It's pretty bad. Look at that, it's got the little thing right there. They only really do that at factories, so that tells me that these 2012, you tell me these are the original rotors? That's crazy. I'll just take this out. I already take the screws out, but look at the inside of that bad boy. Alright, so I already did the front driver's side and I just finished up the front passenger side. Definitely one of those cars where the bracket had to come off and get sandblasted. There was just too much rust on it. So the front's knocked out. Let me go ahead and start doing the back brakes. Now, remember how I was complaining about my kneecaps hurting because I'm always on the floor? Well, I've had this thing for quite some time. I'm sure some people will recognize it, but I never use it because I always seem like it's just more hassle than what it's worth. But honestly now that my kneecaps are just tired of being on the floor all freaking day, this seems to be like a lifesaver. It's super nice to be sitting down and not putting so much stress on my knees anymore. So I think I'm going to start using this more often. When I first took this car for a test drive, I thought it was going to need a master cylinder because the brake pedal was sinking to the floor and it seemed like you have to pump the pedal once or twice to build up any pressure. I don't know what the heck I did, but apparently doing the front brakes kind of fixed the problem. I haven't even done the back brakes yet, but just by taking it out so I could turn it around inside the garage, the brake pedal actually feels great. There's plenty of pressure right away. So, you know, getting the back brakes done, it's only going to get better. But definitely keep an eye on it. I'm still recommending a brake fluid flush because the fluid's completely black. Look at the brake pad. See how it's tapered? And I'm guessing this this wear indicator has something to do with it. You could see it wasn't fitting, so someone just like broke it off. But you could also see how it's touching the bracket itself, and I'm thinking that's what's causing the brake pad to hang up and get stuck against the rotor like that at a weird angle. That's funny. Alright, so yeah, the rear rotor also had those little clips that go on the studs here. So I don't know, these original rotors. Oh yeah, I'd say that looks pretty original to me. That is crazy. Alright, so here I am on the rear right side. It's the last wheel I have to do. And okay, so the rotors look original as bad as they are, right? And the fact that they still got these clips like I mentioned already. But someone's definitely been in here to do brake pads at some point. So look what I took off of the bolt, or off the caliper. It's the bolt that holds the caliper to the bracket. Look at this. That's not the original bolt. 3 washers here and a very long bolt. And let's look. Same exact garbage right here. How do you F up that bad that you lose the bolts when you came in here just to do brake pads? It's crazy. You know, and I don't have any spare bolts that fit this car exactly or perfectly. So I have no choice but to put these back on here, you know. And if someone were to come in here in the future and be like, oh yeah, the last guy that was in here who did your brakes, you know, this is the kind of hack he did and puts my name on this, which it's just shitty, you know. Alright, so I get back here and even the bolts that hold the caliper bracket to the knuckle were loose. That's crazy. This extremely dangerous if these screws were to back out. They were extremely loose. You know, people just don't understand. I don't know who did the brakes on this thing last, but I'm sure he gave this person a good deal. You know what I mean? You know, if someone's charging you X amount of money to do something as important as like brakes on your car, and you say, oh no, that's too much money, I'm gonna go somewhere else. I know a guy that'll do it for $20. You know what I mean? And he could get it done in 15 minutes. You have to question, you know, a guy that's gonna do your brakes for $20. You get what I'm saying? And I know it seems far-fetched, as you know, well, he's just making a story up. No, I've actually heard stories like this. I've heard people get brakes done for, you know, a 6-pack of beer. It's crazy. It really is crazy. You should not be messing around with something like this with your brakes. Don't just go out and trust anyone. This is crazy. Extremely dangerous if those bolts were to back themselves out because they're so loose. I'm back with this Chevy Malibu. That's the one I just did the brakes on. And initially how I was talking about, it may have a bad master cylinder because you have to pump the brake pedal. Well, after doing the brakes, it's great. It does not need a master cylinder. It was simply just the brakes causing that weird effect. It stops like it should, has good pressure. Owner's very happy with the way the car stops now. But now she's having another problem. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn the headlights on. See if you can see this. See, only the right side is turning on. So no light bulb on the left side. Now what's weird is when I initially brought the car into the garage, turned the headlights on, and they were both on. So I had to call the owner and say, hey, what's going on here? He said, you know, something's wrong with the headlights, but they both work. And I spoke too soon, because after about 1 minute it turned off all by itself, and I have not been able to get it to turn back on again. There is a relay that controls the low beam, and it controls both at the same time, and they have a separate relay for the high beam, and again it controls both at the same time. So I put my little relay jumper on the low beam side, and I toggle it on and off, and I can only get this one to turn on and off. This one's not doing anything despite it working initially. Got the left side headlight out, as you can see, and here's the wire harness for the headlight or the light bulbs. And I'm just gonna go ahead and turn on the low beams. You can see that this side is on, this side is not on, and here I am just messing with the harness, you know, trying to see if it's a wiring issue, and I've tried everything, and I can't seem to get this. Oh, there it goes. Just turned on, and I could actually see the light get brighter and dimmer as I mess with these wires right here. Okay, so I got the light bulb out, and looking inside of here where the connector goes, everything looks fine. The bulb actually looks relatively new. Alright, so let's put this down. The bulb works just fine. I'm not going to replace that. But when we come over to the connector, see if I can focus on this. See inside of there? That connector is melted. So I'm going to assume at one point this car had a light bulb that was out, and this connector was melted, and someone came in here, slapped a new light bulb in it, and did not bother to replace this, because they probably didn't know it was an issue. Now, she just bought this Malibu not too long ago, and it came like this once you got it. You see the headlight, how it's popped out? It was like that once you got it. So I mean, I got half of it taken apart, so I think I'm gonna take apart this side and see if I can fix this. Look at that, 5 minutes of my time, and I fixed it right. So someone was in here before. I could just tell someone's had this whole thing taken apart. But really, took 5 minutes of my time, and I put it together correctly. I don't understand why people have to half-ass everything. You know what I mean? Something so simple. Just put the headlight back how it's supposed to be. Look how nice it fits now. Everything lines up. Alright, so here goes the finished repair for this Malibu. As you can see, we have a new connector. And just use connectors and some heat shrink over them. This one, the black actually has to, or the ground has to splice into two of them. So it has, you know, the one wire on this side of the crimp going to the light bulb, and then it has both of these wires going into the other side of the crimp. And of course everything is heat shrinked. So let's put it back on the car and test it. Alright, so I have it loosely installed. Let's go ahead and hit the switch to turn on the headlights. And there we go. On, off, on. Alright, it works, so let's finish putting everything back together. 2018 Ford Fusion, and I'm just looking it over since they're gonna go on a road trip. Something funny I noticed is the tabs for the air filter box have always been made out of metal. Every single car I've ever looked at. And they're actually plastic. Look at that, that's crazy. So it's my first time ever seeing plastic tabs. You know what, guys, I'm waiting for the day that they make the engine out of plastic. That's right. I'm sure they'll figure it out one day. I'm in a Dodge Caliber. Came in on the hook right now because it won't shift out of park. That really sucks. And the owner of this car had this problem a few months ago, but it was very intermittent, right? And it just hasn't showed its face in months, and all of a sudden now it's back, and it forced them to get the car towed over here. So let's see what's going on. Alright, so I didn't bring any other tools with me, and it's not, you know, this thing's parked on the street halfway down the block, so I need something to hold the brake pedal, so I'm using my scanner to hold the brake pedal down. And you have absolutely no brake lights. Here's your problem, lady. Look at this. Alright, so here goes the brake switch, right? First thing I noticed is electrical tape. So someone's been down here before, right? I'm gonna push the brake pedal with my hand, and the actuator, we can't hear it clicking right now, right? But if I go ahead and touch the wire, you hear that? Oh, that's crazy. He had to pay for a tow truck because of this stupid problem. Someone's been down here and they did this stupid hack. Wow. Alright, so right now pushing the brake pedal and it's not releasing the shifter. So I'm going to use my right foot to hold the brake pedal and my left foot to go up there and mess with that wire. You should hear it click right here. There it goes. Alright, so now we could actually move it. It really sucks that the car had to get towed in because of that. Alright, so I've unplugged the connector. You can see the green wire right here is the one that they spliced into. And I'm guessing this is some sort of remote start or something. You can see the box right here. Here's the wire that was attached to it very poorly. So by disconnecting this wire and plugging the connector back in, it seems to be working okay. So this is some sort of aftermarket garbage. It has nothing to do with the original function of the car. What I'm thinking is they just mess with the, let's see if I get in here better. Where am I? So they just mess with this wire so much, and over time with the fatigue and the wire moving so much that the strands are very thin and there really isn't much left right there. So I might have to cut this and then resolder. And I'm still going to go ahead and connect this, just do a better job than what they did. Because it may have something to do with the alarm or remote start or something. And I'm sure they want this feature working on their car. Yeah, it's just a poor installation technique. Alright, so I'm pretty much all done here. And here's my repair. Basically, the wire coming right out of the connector was really short right here. It was like somewhere like right there. So I grabbed this red wire, and it's what I found laying around. So I grabbed the red wire and I soldered that together, put heat shrink over it, and up here, so here's where the two wires are normally supposed to connect together, but because we need this aftermarket, I don't know, remote start connected, I'm using a crimp. So I have both of these wires going into one side of the crimp connector, and then the other side is just plugged into the remote start, and of course it's heat shrinked as well. So I'm just gonna go ahead and wrap it up in some electrical tape. At least everything has a nice solid connection now. It doesn't matter how much you jiggle this, it's not gonna break connection. Everything's good. So I'm gonna wrap this up in some tape and plug it in and test everything. Alright, so I now have the car running, and as you can see, I'm using my hood prop tool to hold the brake pedal down now instead of my scan tool. And what do you know? We got brake lights. Alright. And I could already hear that it's releasing the shift lever. Great. Alright, so it's a solid fix. And I'm sure they're not going to have this problem once again. 2012 Nissan Sentra here. At least I think it's a 2012. But she's got a horrible noise coming from the front right side, which it sounds like the wear indicators on the brake pads. So I suggested she gets new brake pads. As you can see, they're both pretty low here. But also, we have a little bit of play in this lower ball joint, and especially on the front left side. The wheel moves a lot, and she has a horrible shaking in the steering wheel the faster she drives. So we're going to start with replacing these ball joints after we do the brake pads. I took the boot off of this ball joint. Look at all the crap that's inside of here. And there we go. Got the new ball joint installed. Got the retainer clip installed also. I'll just put everything back together, put the new brake pads on it. Now I'm on the front left side of the car. Don't worry, there isn't any tension on this thing. And as you can see, I've torn open this boot and there is nothing but mud inside of here. This is the ball joint that was real bad and is actually destroying the tire. Alright, so I got the new ball joint installed. As you can see, the old one put up a fight coming out. Well, that's the hard work here. So just gonna go ahead and put everything back together just like the other side and just slap the new brake pads on it. So I just took this Nissan out for a test drive and there's a really hard like pull as you're driving. It's consistent. And I did remember seeing this on the tire, so I took it off and sure enough you can see how deformed that is. So basically the ball joint going bad did not cause the tire to be like this. This tire being bad, I believe, well, they probably just fed off of each other, but I'm gonna have to go with this tire with the lump that it has in it is what prematurely killed that ball joint because it was really bad, and this has a lot to contribute. So what I'm gonna do is put this wheel on the back of the car and put the good one up front, because if we leave this on the front and the owner doesn't go get a new tire soon, it's just gonna end up destroying the new ball joint we just put on there. So got a Toyota Sienna here. It's a 2000. A lot going on with this truck or van. Look at the miles here, 279,000. This bad boy has a lot of miles. All right, so it was experiencing misfires, and she took the car to someone else that works on cars, someone I know, and I think it had a single cylinder misfire. So he swapped coils, it didn't change the cylinder that was misfiring, so he pulled out the spark plug, and I'll see if I can put the picture in right here. But the spark plug was completely fouled, as you just saw, and just full of like soot and, you know, all kinds of crap on it. So he changed the spark plug. You know what, I see a spark plug right here. Alright, let's open it up and see if the old one is in here. So anyway, he put the spark plug in it and he said the misfire was gone, it was running fine. He gave it back to the woman, and it's been 2 days and she dropped it off, and it's, well, at least it feels like it's misfiring again, and it's only been 2 days. Also, it has a major issue with consuming oil. She has to put a lot of oil in, and quite often. So here goes the spark plug. I don't know if he cleaned it off a little bit, but this one was misfiring. He put the spark plug in, said the misfire was gone. She brought it over here, it's still misfiring, or the misfire is back again. So right now I got my scanner plugged in and I'm gonna see if it's the same cylinder that's misfiring. Yeah, it's like she's losing a lot of oil. And also he says that she has knock sensor circuit codes. So, you know, depending on how much this is going to cost to fix the knock sensors, and then considering the other problems the car has, she may not want to fix it. She said that the car has served her well. Obviously, she has a ton of miles on it, and depending on how much it'll cost to fix, she may, oh, it's misfiring pretty bad now. She may just get rid of the car, junk it, whatever. But she's like, no, there's absolutely no check engine light, nothing. Well, I noticed that when you cycle the key, when you first put the key in the run position, we don't even have a check engine light bulb. So it's another one of those situations where the owner thinks their car is all good. Oh no, 300,000 miles, no check engine light, the car is good. Well, your bulb just doesn't work. You know what, I'll show you right now. Alright. Does anyone see a check engine light? Because I don't. Try it again. No check engine light. Let me see if I could see where it's supposed to be. That's too difficult to see. But definitely no check engine light here. You know what? Let's see if this thing has a clear flood mode so we can listen to it. And no, it doesn't. Alright. Alright, so here's the codes that are stored in this Toyota. No, my car has no check engine light. Okay, so I just looked over his text and it was cylinder number 2 that he put the new spark plug in. And as you can see, I know it says random cylinder misfire, but you know, specifically it is pointing out 2 and 3. Alright, so I've gone ahead and disabled the fuel injectors. So let's crank it over and listen to the engine. That does not sound good. It sounds like there's some low compression, right? And I figure why not, right? We have cylinder number 2 that's causing a misfire. So I went ahead and put the compression tester on it, and that's where we're at. Yep. I think this car is done for, because it has way too many miles and she doesn't want to invest the money. If it was going to be something simple, then sure. But this is not going to be something simple. So I don't think I have to look at this any further. And that's going to be it for this Toyota. Alright, so I'm back in this Toyota Sienna. It's the next day. Talked to the owner. She's just going to keep driving the car. She's not going to put any money into it. It's got a ton of miles. She says the car has served her well. But she doesn't want to dump any money into it. And, you know, whatever. So we're not going to get anything fixed. She's not going to pay to get the engine fixed. She's not going to put a new engine in there or anything. She's going to deal with oil consumption problems and just leave the misfire. And honestly, only at idle you can feel the misfire. Once this thing gets going, it's like as smooth as glass, right? She says she still gets decent gas mileage on it, so she's just going to leave it and drive it. So she has a complaint about her radio not working. She said it used to work. Someone gave her a jump start, and ever since the jump start, the radio doesn't work. So she did buy a new radio. Anyway, it's a new radio, okay? She said to try to figure out if I could get this one to work. If it still works, just leave it in the car. She's gonna keep using it. If the radio is blown out, to put the new one in. Alright, so I just checked the fuse inside of here for the radio, and it is intact. So the next step is I just want to pull the radio out. As you can see, this pops right off. And the first thing I noticed is so whoever was in here did not even care to tighten down these two 10mm right here. That says a lot. I'm expecting to see some top-notch wiring behind this radio. Alright, so I got the 2 screws out. Place your bets now. Come on. I was right. Look at that. Look at that mess. Electrical tape everywhere. Wow. Alrighty then. Oh, America. America. Let me pull this mess out of here. Before I go any further, let's turn the key on. And I see there's a fuse back here for the radio, so let's check it. No power. No power. Alright, so let's start checking these wires. I'm pretty sure, let's see, the red one. So we do got power right there. And we do have a ground. Let's see the yellow one. The yellow one does not have power. But that might be like memory. I think, I'm trying to remember. I don't know if the yellow needs power for the radio to turn on. I don't know if it only requires power from the red wire. But let me dig into this a little bit further. Alright, so we've confirmed already that we have our ground, we have our power. The yellow wire is right here, and instead of going back there, it's just easier to get to right here. So it's going to be this very first wire, which corresponds to this blue and yellow one. Yep, don't fall. Alright, so all I'm going to do is add power to that yellow wire, and you can see when I touch it with the power cord, we're not getting anything, not even getting, you know, ground like that or anything. So anyway, let's go ahead and give that yellow wire some power and see if we could get this radio to turn on. Alright, sending power now. And look at that, radio's on. Take away the power, radio turns off. So there's nothing wrong with this radio. There's no need to put a new radio in this car. We have to figure out why there's no power on that wire. Alright guys, nothing to see here. Everybody go home. And guess what that fuse is for? Radio. So why did it blow? I don't know. We're about to put another fuse in it and see if it pops again. See if there's a problem or if it was a byproduct of someone trying to jumpstart the car. I don't know. I put a new fuse in it and it didn't pop instantly. It's still intact. Oh, wait a minute. What's going on here? Oh no, okay. I just had a bad connection. So power on one side, power on the other side. Let's go inside the car. The radio should be on at this point. Yay, we have radio. Alright, so yeah, I'm not touching this rat's nest. It's gonna go right back in there how it came out. What sucks is I just talked to the owner and she said she actually paid a shop to install this radio for her. Do you see that work behind there? Are you kidding me? But she said since then that shop has gone out of business, which I'm not surprised. But I mean, this right here, it's things like this why mechanics and shops get a bad name, because they do shit work like this. Not all of them, okay, but they are out there, and it's like those few bad apples just kind of ruin it for the bunch, right? Yeah, this is definitely shit work. No one should have to pay to get that type of work done inside their car. It's silly. But I'm gonna finish putting all this stuff back together, and she could pick this car up. It's pretty much done. Get this turd out of my garage. Now I just finished putting these two bolts in. They're not all the way tight, they're kind of loose. Should I tighten them down or should I just leave it? I don't know, it's a lot of extra work. I know it's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it, right?